one word never meant so much to Oktoberfest fans and Homer Simpson, to name a few: beer. For a classic game, however, it caused a little hullabaloo. Crack open a cold one and check this out.
3000 BC-ish. The god Osiris teaches Egyptians the art of beer making. Across the ancient world, the original brewmasters are women. 1967. Beer making is now a manly rite of passage. Toy Meister Bert Meyer introduces his son Steven to the craft of brewing and the joy of invention.
I had a unique childhood. I grew up in a household where toy invention was what my father made a living at. He worked at one of the most famous toy invention companies, Marvin Glass and Associates, and they were responsible for hits like Mousetrap, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Simon, and Light Bright. When I was a kid, my dad started making beer, and I would make it with him, and I got to drink a little bit of it too.
20 years later, Steve follows his dad to Marvin Glass, where he works on the toy company's first video games.
Scott Morrison and I were sitting around trying to figure out what our next game was going to be, and we said, hey, how about a game about drinking beer? And immediately, the image came to mind of sliding a beer across a bar.
Marvin Glass, Bally Midway, and the King of Beers joined forces. And in 1983, the ultimate 8-bit beer-based brainbuster is born, with the first of its kind GameTap controller. The rules? Simple. The gameplay? Habit-forming.
You're a bartender and you're serving beer to customers, and you got to keep them satiated and get them out the door and get on to your other customers. And at the same time, you got to catch the empties as they come back and progress from level to level. Initially, I was thinking we would have a bar that would wrap around and be one long bar, but we found out that it was more fun for you to have to jump between different bars. So we said, okay, what's next? Well, maybe we add a little distraction in there. So we added a tip. If you were able to race over and get the tip, while you were doing all these other things, you got some entertainment. And in the Western saloon, it was dancing girls. In the sports bar, it was cheerleaders. So that was the greed factor. And then we said, is it still enough? And Bally wondered the same thing. So that's where we added the beer hunter. That was like a shell game.
But what about the inevitable vocalization of beer satisfaction? The belch.
We also had burping in there, and I think the Bally executives said, well, maybe that's not going to fit.
It's bottoms up as the burpless tapper cabinet is a big hit in bars and clubs across America, complete with brass footrest, beer mug holder, and ashtray compartment. Then a little brouhaha ensues as Tapper staggers from the bar and finds its way to arcades. Parents protest, demanding a last call for the beer-sponsored game.
The Bally executives were getting a little flack from people who were saying, hey, you're teaching our kids to drink beer. So they said, we need a game we can put in arcades. Scott and I said, well, we'll make it root beer. And they changed the cabinet artwork, and we went in and changed all the track screens and the artwork anywhere it had Budweiser, and we turned the bartender into a soda jerk.
In '84, the alcohol-free root beer tapper drops. Same rules, same addictive play. Steve follows that up with another round of games like Domino Man, Timber, Wacko, and Journey. Yep, the 80s band had its own game. But among all of Steve's arcade hits, his tappers rocked the loudest, still available on a couple of dozen platforms. Since his tapper days, Steve has overseen the development of fun stuff like Catchphrase, a home version of Golden Tee, and the upcoming Civilization Revolution. But Tapper will always be Steve's top shelf brew.
Every time somebody tells me they enjoy Tapper, it makes me feel good. It's one of those unique things that I will always enjoy. Gameplay with a little creativity stands the test of time. And it lets me stand up and talk to my dad about Light Bright in a different way, too.